You avoid the reflection not because you fear what is physically there, but because you are terrified of the stranger staring back, the one who carries your name but none of your intentions. It is a peculiar kind of violence, this daily act of looking away, a silent negotiation with a ghost you have been trying to outrun since the day you decided that being seen was a vulnerability you could no longer afford. You wake up, and the first thing you do is navigate the room with a practiced, heavy avoidance of the glass. You know where the mirror hangs. You know its geometry, its capacity to capture the light and expose the cracks. But you keep your eyes fixed on the floor, on the patterns in the carpet, on the dust motes dancing in the morning sun, anywhere but toward the silvered surface that demands a recognition you are not prepared to give. There is a profound, suffocating comfort in this self-imposed blindness. If you do not see yourself, perhaps you do not exist in the way they expect you to, and if you do not exist, you cannot be broken by their expectations or your own failures. This is the quiet architecture of a life lived in the margins of one's own skin, where the person you are is obscured by the person you think you should be. The room feels like a tomb today, heavy with the scent of stagnant air and unspoken words that have curdled in the back of your throat. You walk toward the bathroom, your movements mechanical, robotic, as if your limbs are tethered to strings held by an invisible, indifferent puppet master. Your heart is a drumbeat, irregular and hollow, echoing against the ribs that feel too fragile to contain the pressure building inside. You reach the vanity, the cold porcelain of the sink anchoring you in a reality you despise. The mirror is right there, a flat, unforgiving plane of existence. You look down at the drain, watching the water swirl, a hypnotic vortex that mimics the descent of your thoughts into the familiar, murky depths of self-critique. You think about the face that waits for you just a few inches above the faucet, the face that others call yours, but which feels like a mask fashioned from clay that never quite set. You imagine the eyes, those tired, dull vessels of perception, analyzing the slope of your nose, the tension in your jaw, the phantom weight of a personality that feels like an elaborate, exhausting performance. Why is it that the simple act of presence requires such a monumental expenditure of energy? It is the overthinking, the relentless, grinding gears of a mind that treats its own existence as a problem to be solved rather than a fact to be inhabited. You are trapped in a loop of observation, watching yourself watch yourself, a voyeur in your own private misery, documenting the decay of a confidence you never truly possessed. You recall the times you stood here before, perhaps years ago, when the reflection felt like an ally, or at least a neutral witness. Now, it is an accuser. It maps every regret on your forehead, every failed ambition in the downturn of your lips. You wonder if you have become a collection of your own disappointments, a mosaic of things left unsaid and paths left untrodden. You stare at the faucet, your hands gripping the edges of the sink until your knuckles turn white, a desperate attempt to ground yourself in the physical, to pull your consciousness back from the precipice of dissociation. Your inner world is a chaotic landscape of gray skies and shattered glass, a place where the noise of self-doubt is so deafening that you find yourself craving a silence that never arrives. The dissonance between the composed face you show the world, the mask of the functional, reliable, stable person, and the screaming anxiety within you is widening, a tectonic shift that threatens to swallow you whole. You are the architect of your own isolation, building walls made of mirrors and turning them inward, trapped in a hall of reflections that offer no clarity, only an endless multiplication of the one thing you cannot stand, the truth of your own fragmented state. It is not that you are ugly, or broken beyond repair, or inherently flawed in a way that the world would notice. It is that you have become a stranger to the only person you are forced to spend every second of your existence with. This is the exhaustion of performance, the burden of playing a role that feels increasingly like a betrayal of the soul. You are tired of being the witness to your own slow disappearance, watching the light go out behind your eyes while maintaining the illusion that everything is exactly as it should be. The clock on the wall ticks with a rhythmic, indifferent precision, measuring the distance between who you were and the shadow you have become. You realize, with a sudden, sharp clarity that cuts through the fog of your internal static, that your refusal to look is not an act of vanity or hatred, but a final, desperate defense against a truth you aren't ready to name. You aren't avoiding the mirror because of how you look, you are avoiding it because you know that if you look long enough, you will have to acknowledge that the person you are running from is not a monster, but a child who is terrified of being seen for exactly who they are. You have been waiting for someone else to look at you with enough kindness to make you want to see yourself, but that is a hope that has left you hollow. The revelation is cold, biting, and absolute. You are the only one who can grant yourself the permission to exist without the filter of judgment. Yet, you remain frozen, paralyzed by the fear that if you break the silence and look, you will find that there is nothing left behind the glass but the empty echo of your own expectations. You reach out, your fingers hovering just millimeters from the surface, trembling with the weight of 1,000 days of avoidance. You do not look, not yet, but the wall is crumbling. You understand now that the loneliness is not in the room, but in the distance you have cultivated between your heart and your gaze. You are the seeker and the hidden, the prisoner and the guard, holding the key to a cell you have spent your whole life decorating with your own pain, waiting for a permission that will never come from outside. You are the reflection you refuse to see. You are the silence you fear to break.